why might as well train Antonia at the same time during our spare time. So the rest is history.
I remember that day. I remember that day. Yeah. Yeah. It was really it wasn't really part of our plan to interview Antonia, because at that time that we were about to leave for Thailand, she had just been crowned. And Sir Campo reached out to Andy if we could interview her, Antonia, at the very last minute. So yeah, we figured we still had a few hours to spare before going to the airport to catch our flight. So that's where how we met Antonia. So everything fell into its right place. So yeah, that's where I met Antonia for the first time, and her national director Joe Campo. And I even remember when I finally saw Antonia for the first time, I immediately told Antonia, you know what, Antonia, you look like Filipina. You look like a Filipina. Remembered Shamsi Sup Sup in her
I
because of the way how she looked. Yeah. So, and I didn't know that
Million
she
Young.
was half, or she was a happy. I didn't know. I thought she was. All I can remember telling Antonio is like, "Wow, you look like a Filipina. You could pass off as a Filipina representative." And she just took it well. Like she took the compliment. Yeah, well, so yeah, that's where we
Of
hit it
course.
off. So yeah. And I was showing Antonia, hey, this is Shamsi. This is how she was styled in Miss Universe. I was showing her some YouTube clips about Shamsi's Miss Universe performance, just for her to get an idea about her styling, because from the way I understood, Antonia, if this is right, you had no background in pageants apart from Miss Supranational Thailand, right? So I was telling her, oh, probably this kind of wavy curls will look good on you, would look good on you on stage if ever. So you might consider this. Yeah. So I'm curious to ask, what preparations did you do prior to training with RL, Antonia?
Um, Prior to training with RL, I had training from the team back home as well, um, where they would train me how to walk. Well, because my walk before, like at the beginning, was like a robot, so they kind of taught me to use like my body more, more like showing my personality through my walk. I also had like vocal training and like public speaking, in not in a way of how to speak in public, but how to use my voice to speak and send different messages, to approach with different emotions. Um, yeah, so it was a lot of mostly the typical training, but RL definitely taught me. I think the biggest lesson and the most important one was how to answer questions. And I think RL also was like starting to get a little bit annoyed with me that I couldn't like figure it out fast enough. But yeah, he really explained it in a way that I feel like he really adjusted his teaching method to be able to make it so that I understood what he was saying, like with diagrams and everything. And in the end, I understood it like really well. And actually, when I was answering the question, I was thinking about you. I was thinking about like, okay, you need to do this, this, and this when you're answering the question. I said, okay, just keep it, answer the question first of all, and then do the steps afterwards. So I really kept it in my head a lot because I know, like what you said, when I answer questions, I'm always kind of drifting off. So I really had to kind of
Right.
focus my thinking.
I'm glad you were easy. It was so easy for you to adjust to RL's training method. So RL, what were the dynamics of your training? What were the dynamics of your training with Antonia?
Well, actually, I can say that we really have like a good chemistry working together. like me as a coach and her being a student, and everything went fine. It's really smooth. And the first time that we met, we actually clicked already. And since we were given around 4 to 5 days, I believe, 4 to 5 days of training only, we already, started doing the modules. We had like a pep talk already. I tried to get to know her as much as possible because this is where I'm going to get what I'm gonna teach her based on her personality, based on her behavior, based on her experience and personal background. So everything is fine. The dynamic is really good, and she adopts to my modules really fast. And yeah, I'm really happy that she's a quick learner.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
I got a good teacher.
uh, Kapong kap.
Hey, glad to. Oh, Antonia. So our for Antonia.
Exactly.
And what was your first impression of Antonia?
Oh wait. Okay, the first impression. Maybe we have similar first impression because I can remember vividly that during the first time that I met Antonia, I was really, really, really stunned by her beauty. She's so beautiful. She's so pretty, and her skin, that jawline, that I mean, her bone structure, her facial structure is really, you know, I'm very speechless. So during the first few minutes of like me talking to her, I don't know if she was able to notice it, but I was literally like staring at her face like for around how many minutes because oh my god, this girl, she's really beautiful. She has this face of an angel, and I can tell that that face alone can actually give her the crown. So that was my first impression. I was really starstruck. You better, I mean, to those who are watching right now, if you meet her in person, you can tell or you can say that she's even more beautiful in person. No joke.
Yeah, yeah, she's really beautiful. She's for me, she's more beautiful in person. And what really strikes me is really also her humility. She
Right.
isn't afraid to
Agree.
ask questions. Yeah, if she doesn't know the answer, she really asks you like, oh, "What is it all about? Can you show me? Can you like?" Yeah, she really wants to learn. You can see,
Right.
right?
Agree.
So, what aspect of your training did you focus on with Antonia?
Well, primarily I focus on the mental aspect. So
Mental
I
aspect.
believe, yeah, the mental aspect, because for me this is the most important aspect of the preparation. And all of my students actually know it because before I start my training, I always make sure that I know who am I training. I mean, I'm making sure that I know the person well, and I also have to make sure that my student also know herself a lot as well. So I focus on mental aspect because this is something that will control her behavior when she joins in the pageant. This is something that will control everything. It's all about mental, psychological, spiritual, and a lot more. So because I am aware that Antonia doesn't have experience joining in pageants before, aside from her national pageant, which is Miss Supranational Thailand. So I believe that I have to let her, to make her aware of the things that she will expect when she goes to Poland. So I prepared everything. It's actually gonna be a long, explanation if I elaborated it to you guys today, but that is the main focal point of our training, the mental aspect. Because I have to make sure that she's already aware and secure about herself, and when once she's there, she knows how she's gonna handle the stress of the competition due to the activities, how she's gonna handle the bashers, how she's gonna handle her personal issues, her personal problems, what if she feels so stressed? So if those things are actually important in a candidate, because if you have a weak mental state, then definitely in the middle of the competition, you will just you will feel defeated and would not be motivated to go on and push for the crown. So that is something that I really keep on pushing her to, do.
Yeah, mental aspect. Yeah, I agree on that. She was able to, during her competition in Miss Supranational, she wasn't, I don't know if she was, probably she was feeling nervous, but she wasn't showing it on stage or
Okay.
even off stage during her bonding moments, Gresham, or those side activities that they had to do during Miss Supranational, right?
Yes.
So, Antonia, can you tell us more about RL as a mentor?
Yes, just give me 1 second. I'm just gonna adjust the light because it went really dark.
All right, all right.
Just give
Okay.
me one
So
second.
while we wait for Antonia, so
Mm.
RL, did you go to Thailand just to train her? You went to Thailand.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, so you stayed there for for quite some time to be able to
Yeah.
train Antonia.
Yeah, I actually stayed there for 12 days. And but
12
like what I
days.
mentioned, yeah, just like what I mentioned earlier, the reason why I went there is to check out on a friend who's competing for another pageant, and it just so happened that she's still there in Thailand, preparing for Miss Supranational, which is actually a good thing. We still have around 4 to 5 days to polish everything. So that's the reason why I reached out to her national director and told him that, oh, might as since I'm there in Thailand, might as well do the training there. So yeah, so it
But
was
I'm
one of
so
the things that we did. Yeah.
but I am so amazed that you were able to condense everything in 12 days, considering that Antonia has had no background at pageants at all. Wow, were you able to do it in 12 days? Get
Well,
it cramped
actually,
in 12 days?
actually, it wasn't 12 days. I mean, I stayed in Thailand for 12 days, but I only had around 4 to 5 days to train Antonia because she's already leaving for Poland for Miss Supranational. And to be perfectly honest, I didn't
Oh,
have a hard time training her. And even though that we only have like limited time, because just like what I said, she learns so fast. She always shows progress in every module that we do. Each and every day, she keeps on improving. So I'm really, really impressed by how she develops with her training. So I was like telling myself, like, oh, okay, this girl, I think she's not only doing good in our training, but she's also doing good in school. She's a good student.
so how many times were you training Antonia? Every day?
Me? Yeah, I
Yes.
mean, from the first time that I met her up until she flew to Poland. So for 4, I cannot exactly remember if it's 4 days or 5 days, but around 4 to 5 days consecutively, I'm training her every day.
Wow, yeah. So, wow. So I'm thinking it was probably intense, rigorous, intensive. Like you have to finish everything. Antonia, we have to finish everything by 5 p.m. Everything that you need to know about catwalk, we have to learn it now, so that
Well,
for
actually,
tomorrow we could.
there is
Yeah.
no pressure that we actually felt during the training. There's no time limit. Although I mean my time is divided, but when we're together, it feels like okay, we have to catch up with this one. We never. I'm not sure with Antonia, but for me, I never felt that. So everything was like very smooth. The transition of each module is really smooth, and there was never like a pressure on our part that I mean, everything is fine.
Okay. Uh, the, Antonia, how was RL as a mentor? Can you tell us more about him in terms of train as a trainer?
Of course. Well, at the beginning, I was actually really nervous because, like, my national director was saying, he flew all the way from the Philippines to train you, da da da. And so I felt a little bit of pressure to kind of not let my national director down. And initially, my thought was he's gonna be so strict. I'm gonna get my butt kicked. But actually, when I met RL, he was so nice, and there was this like energy from him that like was so heartwarming. And it's actually so much better to have a trainer that is like this because it makes you want to learn. And I think that's the reason I was always really, trying to get more involved into the training because he made it seem like he also really wanted to train me. And I think when you're in that environment, it also motivates you. So his way of like how he approached the training really helped me like mentally and emotionally as well, because the moment like we started talking, he could tell that I was like insecure and that I was always second guessing myself. So he really tried to help me get out of my shell, and I really felt appreciated and like someone really wanted to help me. So I'm really grateful for that. And of course, like I said, answering the questions was, I say it, I'm still repeating it because it was really a big part of the training that helped me the most, because I had no idea that in the training there was all this, structure and into answering the question. And it really, really cut it down from like this to like this, but this being the most important points that you had to share. So I was really, really happy to be able to be trained by RL. And honestly, I'm so grateful that you were there to help me, because if I didn't get that training for answering the questions and changing my mentality, I probably would have approached the competition much differently.
Did you hear that,
Oh,
RL?
yeah. Thank you so
Uh,
much. I'm blushing.
Mutual Admiration
We
Society.
are
Now,
also
Antonia,
really.
yeah, Antonia, there's a question here from our viewer. His name is Ronald Dennis Reyes. He asks, now, given with everything that you said, being trained by a Filipino trainer, would you recommend Thai women aspiring? Would you recommend Thai women aspiring to become beauty queens to undergo pageant training by a Filipino?
Um, I wouldn't say that, if you want to be a beauty queen in Thailand, you have to be trained by a certain type of nationality. I think it all is based on preference. And everyone from every country has their different ways of training, has their different approaches to pageantry. And I don't think that it should be fixed for one group of people to train another group of people. Because, I mean, it's all about, how do you say, like, I don't think I don't know how to say this actually. I think if you're happy with who you're being trained with at the moment, you shouldn't like change your training method because someone says that you have to do that. But if you feel like your training, um, you like another person's way of training better, then you should definitely go for that. Like if I'm training with person A, but like RL, I like RL's training method better, then I think it's just coincidence that he's from the Philippines. But if the other person is maybe from, I don't know, Malaysia, then I don't think it matters as well, as long as the end goal is the same and you both want to achieve the same goal. That's the most important thing.
Right.
I like that, yeah. As long as
Yes.
you have the same objective, yeah, it doesn't matter. Now, RL, I want to ask, what's the difference now that you've trained a Thai beauty queen, a successful Thai beauty queen? What's the difference between training Thai and Filipina beauty queens beside the language? Are Filipina and Thai beauties, are Filipina and Thai beauty sensibilities or aesthetic quite similar?
Mm. Well, My comment about that, having experience in both Filipino queens and Thai queens, I can say that there's nothing much of a difference between the two, considering that are both of them come from a country or a pageant crazy nation. So when I compared both of them, there's nothing much of a difference. They What I just have observed are more on their similarities. So they are very passionate. They are very they always put their heart into the training. So because Thailand and the Philippines, it has a lot of pageant aficionados. So same goes with their queens or with our queens. There are also a lot of pageant aspirants or pageant queens who are really passionate about pageants. But if there's only one thing that I have observed, if there's like a very tiny difference between the two, I think I can say that well, maybe Filipinas are known, or we can always see that our queens are they're very friendly, they're very outgoing, and they can get along with others easily, you know. But now for the Thai queens that I have experience working with, they're actually friendly. Don't get me wrong; they are friendly, and they are one of the they are actually the sweetest girls in the world. But during your first encounter, they're pretty shy or quiet. So maybe it's because of the language barrier. But when you get to talk to them more, that's the time that they will be comfortable, and you will really appreciate their very sweet and kind personality. So that's the very tiny difference that I have observed.
Noticed. But I'm glad Antonia wasn't shy during your first encounter with her.
She was.
She was.
She
Ah,
was very
okay.
quiet. I was like, she was
So
feeling
that
like,
okay. So was her shyness one of those things that you need to work on with her during the training? And I would like to ask, what was your, apart from the mental aspect of the competition, what was your game plan for Antonia leading up to the Miss Supranational contest?
right, okay. So, well, actually, you just mentioned, right, the shyness. So it needs to be worked on. And regarding the game plan, it wasn't that much of it wasn't it's actually not complicated. So the game plan is for her to just simply show her real authentic self. I mean, her real self. So I actually told her that she needs to just show her personality. And during the first time that I met her, when during the first hour of conversation, she was pretty timid and quiet. But upon upon getting to know her more, I actually told myself that this woman has a lot to offer. So this woman is a woman of substance. And when you get to talk to her,
He froze.
Oh no.
Antonia, he froze. He
Yeah.
froze. He was giving out interesting answers. Yeah, I think he froze. Yeah. Oh wait, let's wait for him to come back. So while he is busy addressing his technical issues, difficulties, game plan about overcoming Antonia's shyness.
I'm talking about her personality. So I was like trying to, for her to be more comfortable with her own skin and, release all her insecurities. So that's the importance of us discussing about her personal issues. What are your insecurities? How are you going to overcome it? Because that is by then that a candidate or a student will just think it is by accepting and embracing your flaws. That is the only time that you can present yourself to the people, right? Because pageant is all about presenting yourself to the people, to the judges, and
He froze again. Oh no. Is it really our internet in the Philippines that's causing this problem? Antonia, I'm so sorry for the lagging, for the delay of our of our of my and RL's Wi-Fi. You know, as much as I want to get this conversation smooth sailing, I just don't have the powers to make everything smooth.
it's happening. Okay. So just okay. I'm just gonna make it short. Okay. Because based on my observation, even though that I never had like any experience of training a girl competing for a supranational, I just observed that the organization is looking for someone who has or who can show authentic personality, someone who's outgoing, someone who's fun, you know. So that is the game plan. So I just told her that don't be afraid to just show your personality, your fun personality. You must know how to get along with different people, with the organizers, with the candidates, and by just being real, the real you. So that is basically our game plan. And I'm so happy to see that Antonia was enjoying each and every moment or every activity that they have there in Poland. And I can see that just enjoying, and that is what's more important.
So were you convinced of her performance in Poland?
Of course, yeah, well, yes, actually, I'm already sold. I'm very convinced about her performance. Although, if we're gonna, nitpick a little bit, of course, there are some areas that still needs room for improvement. But overall, I'm already convinced.
And which advice from RL that really stood out to you that you really took to heart seriously and applied it in Poland well?
I think the most important thing he taught me was to embrace your flaws, because I told him about, like he said, my insecurities and how I didn't feel confident in myself and how I looked. And he told me, like, you can't go to the competition being guarded by your flaws. You have to embrace your flaws, because these are the things that make you who you are. These are the things that build you up, not tear you down. So we need to embrace these qualities and just really just have fun, like your energy and everything. Just think about what you want to achieve, what you want to do on stage, and do your best, and just forget about everything that makes you insecure, because those are only obstacles that you have to face, and you need to think about how you're going to overcome them rather than the fact that they're pushing you down. And this is honestly, like, I even remember the conversation I had with RL, because when he was asking me about insecurities, I started crying. Like, I almost started crying, because it was
Mhm.
such like an emotional topic for me. And it really helped me, because on that stage, on the final night, the only thing I told myself was, you know what, you've come this far, and there's no point trying to bring negative energy onto yourself. The only thing you can do now is do your best, put in 100%, and just have fun. I mean, you're gonna be walking down in a bikini anyways. There's no point being insecure now, right? So just be proud of what you have, and just show them what you got. I mean, it's easier said than done, but it was definitely something that took more than just one night to, do.
What was the most challenging part of your training with him?
I
What is
think it
one tip or
was
advice that
definitely the letting go of my insecurities part, because I feel like this was a very big issue for me before I met RL, and it was something that I had never really accepted or kind of allow. Like it was always an obstacle for me that I was facing, and I never really looked at it as something I should embrace. And I think this was something that really pulled me back from doing what I wanted to do, and I think he could also see that. So I think the biggest challenge was getting over that and kind of accepting that these are flaws that were created by my past. And in order to move forward, I need to grow and I need to accept that, you know, this is part of who I am and I should be proud of it rather than bringing myself down.
I can't believe that for a lovely woman like you have such insecurities. I thought you're pretty managing it well, you're handling it well. I didn't know that you have so many insecurities inside of you. Wow, that's something. Wow, you make Miss Supranational so relatable. I always thought that the winners who get crowned there are usually bombshells, glamazonas, who really seem to have everything from head to toe. So yeah, it's pretty cool that you're very brave in admitting that you have these flaws, weaknesses that you had to address prior to competing in Miss Supranational.
I think that it's more than, you know, being brave. I think it's something that everyone goes through. We all have insecurities that we sometimes don't want to face, or, you know, that we face every day that we can't seem to get over. And I don't think that because I'm a beauty queen, I don't need to show that, because I am still human. I'm still like everyone else. And I also face problems like everyone else, like my own insecurities. So I think the best way to embrace it is to encourage other people to do the same. Because what good is me having the platform and the title if I can't use it to the best of my abilities and influence other people positively?
There's a question here. And prior to joining the local supranational contest, did you consider other local pageants? What made you join Miss Supranational?
Like I said earlier, I only knew about Miss Universe, so I didn't really plan on joining any other pageants. Also, because I felt like I wasn't really ready to join Miss Universe. Like the image I had in my head of Miss Universe was more mature, more, you know, older than me. Like my way of thinking, I felt I was still very young. Um, so I felt like I wasn't ready to join Miss Universe. And when I read and did research about Supra, I felt like this was like a stage or an organization that I could relate more to, especially it being young. And, you know, every year, even though it's a young platform, young organization, every year it's growing and evolving with how our society is growing. And that's also pretty much me, what I'm doing as well. So I felt like I could relate more to Miss Supra than Miss Universe before I joined.
Speaking of Miss Universe, RL, I interviewed Fasai last Tuesday. This is for both RL and Anne. I interviewed Fasai last Tuesday night, and she revealed that she also trained with you, RL, prior to competing in Miss Universe. So with Anne, and she trained with Anne at the same time as she was training for Miss Universe. So I'm wondering, how did you adjust to training both girls for two different pageants? Because someone's also asking here. Ronald Reyes has also another question. Is there any training required for a specific international pageant? If so, what are these?
Is there any training? I'm sorry. Is there any training?
Is there any training required for a specific international pageant? If so, what are these? Or he has follow-up question.
Okay.
Are the walks, are the pasarela walks from Miss Universe and Miss Supranational the same? Or are there differences on how candidates should perform or walk?
Okay. Well, for me, I mean, I'm speaking for, I mean, only for myself as a trainer. I don't think that there is like an exact training for a specific pageant or an exact general or standard training for all of the girls. Because all of them are actually different. And even though that um, each pageant is actually, okay, hold on for a moment. You hear me?
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear.
Hello?
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, so because I think my headset is already has a low battery, so let me just go on. So as what I've been saying, there's like even though that each pageant or each organization has their own prototype or some characteristics that they're looking for, but my approach in terms of the pageant training has always been more leaning into customized training or the customized approach. Because just like what I mentioned, each individual is different. So each one of them has their own personality. Each one of them has different coping styles. Each one of them has their own strengths, weaknesses. So you must really have to personalize the training according to their personality, according to their coping styles, and according to their pageant expertise. Some of them already have experience joining a pageant. Some of them doesn't have any experience at all. So there is no exact kind of training. So what I always do is to personalize, get them to know the person first, analyze what her strengths are, and polish the strengths of that girl and try to analyze what her weaknesses are and try to improve on those. So from there, that is the basic. That is where I actually start the training, and from there, step by step, So there's no exact method or formula because everyone is different. So there's like whole, a total. There's no, what do you call it? There's no exact formula for everyone, and that is, I mean, I'm speaking for myself as a trainer. I don't know with other trainers, but that's actually how I do it.
Hi. So Antonia, while we wait for him to come back, so it's interesting to note that his approach is more individual based, personality based, instead of getting the whole pageant prototype thing showed into your training. Like, okay, this is what Miss Supranational is all about. They really want someone who walks with very full of personality, someone who walks like this, like that. But I realized, but when I'm, I was so blown away with what he said that he's more into customizing his training plan as to what that girl really needs in terms of what she still has to do leading up to her pageant assignment. Yeah, I've always thought it's the other way around. Like the girl has to adjust what the pageant is looking for. So, were you always in touch with each other during Miss Supranational? How were you supervising Anne even from abroad?
Well, we actually communicate through our line application. You know, so I always check on her each and every event or every activity, and I always give a feedback on what I have seen based from the photos. And although since I know that there's a different time zone between the Philippines and Poland, yeah, sometimes she gets to reply back. I mean, it takes a long time for her to answer back because I also know that they're also busy with their activities. But yeah, we are talking through line up.
So I'm curious to ask when Anne was in Poland already, um, was everything that you planned worked out, or were there any changes that you need to do, or everything was as executed as planned?
Well, I think she was able to do everything that she was told to. And also, the only thing that I remember which is pretty like funny thing, is more on the hair. So during, as far as I remember, during the preliminaries, during the evening gown competition, yeah, evening gown preliminaries. So she had like a curly hair, and I actually messaged her and I told her that okay, if for the finals you also do the same curly hair, but if ever that you did not like how it was styled, so just do a ponytail. And when I was like watching the pageant during the opening, I just saw like the ponytail with the curly hair, but I didn't know that she doesn't have like a hair extension during that time. So it was like, I was like asking myself, is she gonna sport that hairstyle throughout the pageant or during the opening number? And then there's this swimsuit competition route, and she's still, sporting that hair. And I was like, okay, she really looked like a cheerleader with her hair. But what's good about it is that she was able to shine because of her personality, and I was really happy to see her that she's actually enjoying the stage. Because before the finals, what I keep on reminding her is to keep on smiling. Because during the preliminaries, she's not smiling at all. So I told her that you must really be smiling in the finals because it's like a TV show and your presence must be felt by the judges. And the organization is looking for someone who has a vibrant personality. So just enjoy, forget about everything, just enjoy and smile a lot. So there.
So the ponytail came from you. The ponytail hair idea came from you. Yeah, like it. I like it, Sir RL. Now, Antonia, there's a question here. There's a question here from our viewer. Antonia, apart from training with RL, did you watch previous editions of Miss Supranational to get more insights about the pageant and the qualities of their winners?
I did watch I only honestly I only watched Valeria's like the one before me, her win, because I felt like if I went too far back, then it wouldn't really, you know, be up to date because I can only assume that they would want to get better. But I did do like, Instagram research about the previous winners to kind of see what kind of look they had, what kind of personality, what kind of person they were. But I didn't want to get in my head so much about like who the winner is supposed to be, because if I'm going to the competition and I'm being 100% myself, I want that to be the winning factor. I don't want to go into the competition and win because I'm trying to be like someone else. So if I had gotten into my head trying to be someone else the whole time, it would have been really obvious, and I don't think I would have enjoyed it as much.
Clever strategy, yeah. You stalk on some of the past winners' Instagram accounts, but that was just about it. You didn't dig deep so that you could really experiment on your own.
Yeah.
Like go through that fear of the unknown with so much excitement, considering that you know what's gonna happen or what lies ahead of you in the pageant. I like that. So when you won, when you finally won, did you cry? Did you cry at each other, or
I was
you really
honestly
called
like,
him?
I was more shocked in that moment that I didn't really process any of the emotions. But I think I almost cried, but then I told myself, don't cry because then your mascara is gonna start running and the picture is not gonna look good. So I really tried to like contain my tears, but I was definitely almost about to cry.
Yeah. So for sure, RL is very. What do you think? What advice can you give us in terms of what Miss Supranational is looking for in a winner, having gone through those experiences?
Honestly, the only advice I can give for what Miss Supranational is looking for in a winner is someone who is true to themselves, someone who is true to their values and what they represent as a person. And if you are just a good, genuine human being. Because being a beauty
Yeah, always
queen,
be nice to each other.
it yeah, you always have to stay humble and grounded because just because you win a crown doesn't mean you're better than anyone else. And the most important thing is to just remember that having this crown is just a part of your life. It's not going to dramatically change your life, but it's what you do with that crown that shows what kind of person you are. But it's not going to change your life forever. It's just a moment, and you need to
Yeah.
appreciate it.
It's interesting that you said that it's all about the attitude when it comes to competing in supranational, because I've always had this impression that Miss Supranational is always about personality, more emphasis on looks. So it's not really just looks and personality. It's also about the attitude.
I would say attitude and personality would definitely be first, and then looks would come third. Because if your look doesn't, measure with a good personality, then your look doesn't really mean anything, I think.
Makes sense. Makes sense. Antonia, makes sense. All right, you both have proven that neighbors, Philippines and Thailand, to be friendly with one another by sharing our skills in pageants. Do you think this could be a trend or likely to be continued by Thai beauty queens in the near future?
Oh well, actually, I cannot tell sure, but would it be like a good thing if it's gonna be spread? Can you hear me clearly? Okay, like it's gonna be a trend that Thailand and Filipino fans are, you know, cheering for each other. They have good relationships together, and they're being friends with each other. So I really hope that what I mean, my relationship with Antonia and also with Thailand can also bring together the fans from Thailand and Philippines because I've been reading a lot of petty fights that these two you know uh, teams are really uh, having a cat fight in different pageant work. But it's really understood. It's really given because this is pageant, and they have their own bets. But I think it's gonna be an amazing thing if they are really supportive or cheering for each other.
I agree with that. I agree with that. Oh, there's some questions for you here coming in from our viewers. RL, will you be training future Miss Supranational Thailand winners from now on?
No, there's no plan about that yet, but I would still love to. But right now, we still can talk about it. So, yeah.
Someone's asking also, RL, are you a one-man training camp? How can you be contacted for pageant training?
Well, if they want to, if they're interested to trade, like they can always send a message either my personal Facebook account, which is RL Lacanienta, or our Facebook account, which is RL Angels, or our Instagram account, which is RLS Angels. So,
Hmm. There's another question here for RL. RL, do facial expressions of candidates during their performance need to be trained or practiced prior to the pageant? I mean, does it matter whether the candidate smiles or give their fierce look on stage?
well, it actually doesn't matter what kind of expression does the candidate shows on stage, but as long as it fits their personality, then they can actually do whatever expressions do they want to show on stage. But of course, trying and learning to the different kinds of expression is also nice because pageant is entertainment, right? So you must have to show your a different character, so it actually adds flavor to your performance.
Last few questions before we wrap this up. Anne, now that you are Miss Supranational, are there any chances Thailand will host Miss Supranational in Thailand in the near future? Because Thais are really one of the amazing hosts of pageants in the whole world right now.
I really, really hope so. It would be so amazing to be able to crown the next Miss Supranational in my own home. And like the previous one where they did the Miss Universe 2018 in Thailand, oh my goodness, I was in love with like the production, the music. Oh, it was amazing. So I hope one day that there will be a Miss Supranational hosted in Thailand.
Let's pray for that to happen. Let's pray for that to happen. You know, anything is possible in this world, yeah. Who knows? You might be the bridge or the key between Miss
Yes.
Supranational and the Thai government to finally for it to finally come through, right? So last question. Oh wait, there's another one. From another viewer before we end this. Antonia, did you ever think you had a good shot of winning Miss Supranational?
Honestly, no. From the first day that I got to the competition, I was like, you know what? I'll just come here for the experience. Like RL knows, like I'm very good at putting myself down. So that probably wasn't exactly healthy for me to tell myself that at the beginning of the competition. But just judging by the girls that I had met, I think everybody had equal chances of winning. So I didn't think I was gonna be winning the whole competition. And I didn't want to think that either because I didn't want to be at a point where I was cocky. I wanted to still remain humble and grounded and grateful that I was even at the competition competing for as Thailand. So there wasn't a moment where I thought I was gonna win.
Yeah, knowing that a lot of countries too are really sending formidable candidates. So yeah, yeah, right. So anyway, thank you so much. I really had so much fun listening to all your stories, to all your revelations regarding your working relationship with one another. I learned so much from you in terms of what Miss Supranational is looking for in a winner. And to RL, I learned so much from in terms of how you are training. You are customizing your training plan to each individual who would like to train under you. Yeah, it's more about personality based and not the other way around, where the girl has to adjust on what the pageant is looking for in a winner. So yeah, interesting. Thank you so much. As my last question, can you give a message to one another after the whole Miss Supranational changed your lives forever?
Super.
Okay, I'll start. Yes, of course. I would love to give a message, and like I just want to thank you so much for like putting in your time, your energy, and your effort into really customizing like the training you gave to me to fit me as a person, and really getting taking the time to get to know who I am in order to, you know, continue the training to be adjusted to what I needed to improve on. And I tell you like through text all the time, I'm so grateful, I'm so thankful for you. And I really do mean it, because the way you trained me really changed my mindset, my mindset, the way I was thinking, how I was thinking throughout the competition. And it still is something I carry with me even today. When I go and meet, you know, people, I always go in, you know, with a confident mindset, you know, positive thinking. And I'm still trying, of course, to, you know, put aside my flaws and embrace them from time to time. And it is hard. I'm not going to say it's easy, but yeah, thank you so much for everything you've helped me with. And I hope that you will come and train the next Miss Supranational Thailand, and I can be a part of that too. And of course, when both of you come to Thailand, you're more than welcome. I would love to see you both.
Things all good, Antonia, promise. RL, your turn.
Oh, okay. Well, I think, well, I have already told you everything. I've already sent you a message during after you won, right? So I believe that I have already said everything, and that message will always still be the same. But again, I would like to thank you as well for having represented. I mean, for representing me well as your coach. So I'm really glad and I'm really proud of what you have become. And I'm really surprised that all of the things that we have talked during the training, you can still remember, and you're actually applying it right now. Just to be perfectly honest, that's the reason why I'm doing this thing. Because more than the crown, I'm really so much after the self-development of my student, and I'm really glad that you have absorbed everything and applying it to your everyday life. So keep on doing that. Keep on, spreading positivity. Keep on being humble. I know you from the very beginning that you have a very humble heart, very kind heart, and stay grounded, stay humble, and I hope to see you soon. So thank you as well. Thank you for having me as well. So I'll first go looking for you also.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
I wanna cry for both of you. So RL, would you follow RL, last question, would you follow Anne's advice to train her successor in Miss Supranational Thailand? Hopefully for a back-to-back win.
Well, you know what? It's like what I've mentioned. I always open myself to anyone, no matter what nationality or which country are they coming from, as long as they believe that I can help, as long as they believe that I have the skills to train them and make them win, or maybe develop their career or whatsoever. Who am I to actually decline? So again, I'm really passionate about this. I'm really passionate about what I'm doing. So with an open arms, I would accept that responsibility again.
Ah, did you hear that, Antonia?
Yeah.
On that note, thank you so much to the both of you for gracing our interview here on Sash Factor. It means the whole supranational to us for Antonio, for both of you for doing this interview with Sash Factor. We Yeah, I learned so much from both of you, to be honest. Yeah. because to be honest, I'm more of a Miss Universe fan. So talking to you both made me get to know Mr. and Miss Supranational organization at a better light. You don't know how much this interview is helping me out when it comes to looking for in its respective winners. All right, Antonia, RL, thank you so much. I hope you have a good night ahead of you. Thank you so much from the bottom of our hearts here in Sash Factor.
Thank you also for having us.
It has been such a pleasure doing this interview with both of you, and I hope there could be a repeat soon, probably December next year when Supranational Thailand is in full swing, or even Miss Supranational is happening, probably whether this or next year, to really to really talk more about Miss Supranational because it's such a promising pageant. All right, guys, take care. Stay safe and hydrated. See you soon when it's all good.
Night.
Bye.